Hi, I'm Christina. Oh my God. Not sure what was going on there. Okay, now I feel a little giggly. All right, we got this. Hi. Oh, wait. I don't know what's going on with my voice. It's like I'm like a teenage boy. Hang on.
Hi.
Hi, I'm Christina, and this is the Bet Free Life. Hi, welcome to the. Hi, welcome.
Warning, this show may be triggering for anybody experiencing gambling-related harm. Please watch cautiously. We speak from our experiences only. Please seek professional help for a gambling addiction.
Hi, welcome to the Bet Free Life. I'm Christina, and I haven't placed a bet since March 2021.
And I'm Brian, and FanDuel can go themselves. And I haven't placed a bet since July of 2014. Hi, Christina.
That's a great way to start.
Well, they've earned it. And it's not because of anything they did to other people, but because it was something personal to me. And so therefore, I felt the need to curse.
All right.
Do you remember our second episode? I can remind you of what I talked about if you want. But our friend Tara was on with us. We didn't have these fancy backgrounds. We were just a couple of people starting out, and I decided that I would talk about the fact that FanDuel sent me a mailer, and we talked about the mailer that they sent and the bonus offers and all the phone numbers on it. And then I talked about how it took me 23 minutes. There's no phone number that you can call to get off the mailing list. So you have to go online and go in an online chat. And you figure that would be a lot faster, but it wasn't. It took me 23 minutes to get to somebody in the responsible gambling department. And in their responsible gambling department, they irresponsibly made me wait 23 minutes to get off of their mailing list. Me, somebody who has a gambling addiction, it took 23 minutes to get me off the list. I had to wait. And I know that it was 23 minutes because I counted it and I put the video up within our video of episode 2. And there was a nice person. I don't know. It was a chat box. There was nothing personal about it. But there was a person at the other end named who said, yeah, I'll remove you from the list. What's your address? So I gave him my address and he said, you're off the list. Well, FanDuel, what the hell is this? In the week leading up to the Super Bowl, here I get bet Super Bowl, whatever we're at, 56, with 56-1 odds on either team to win. Essentially just place a bet, you'll get some money. You got to be a first-time gambler to use this. Whatever, it doesn't matter. I should be off the mailing list, and I'm not off the mailing list. Luckily for me, I have 7 years of recovery to help me fight an urge that might be caused by giving me this. Somebody who asked to be off your mailing list is now still on it, and you're still sending a gambling addict bonus offers. That is predatory. That is wrong. That is something, whatever gambling commission that is in the state of Connecticut, I'm going to call them. I'm also going to go to the Consumer Protection Department of the government and file a complaint because I don't know what else to do. I'm sure nothing will happen. I don't know what would other than them. Well, they'll probably tell me to call again and I'll say, oh, they don't have a phone number. I have to go on the computer and get into a chat. And so there's no way to make sure that I'm actually off the mailing list because here I am, FanDuel can go themselves.
Absolutely. And you are right. It is thankful that you have 7 years of recovery, but that doesn't mean, even with 7 years of recovery, that doesn't mean that one bad day and you get something like that,
You're right.
Very much so. And so it's very much on the responsible side of things, right? Who's responsible for that?
They are, because they told me I was off their list.
Absolutely.
I, as a friendly neighborhood gambling addiction advocated for myself and said, please remove me from your list. And they said, you're removed, man. You're off the list. Don't worry. And I thought, when I first saw this, I thought, oh gosh, that must be for my spouse. Nope. It's got my name on it. Brian Hatch. says it right there. So they are advertising to a known gambling addict, as much as I hate using that term. A known gambling addict they are advertising to. And that is predatory, and that is wrong. And FanDuel should have to answer for that. Again, they're not going. Nobody gives a about Brian Hatch in Connecticut. It's too small an entity. But I'm sure what is happening is that I'm not the only one who's off the mailing list, because there's no way in hell I'm the only one who's off the mailing list who's getting these offers. And that is where it's wrong. And that is, people might have had a bad day, like you said, might have had a bad day at work and decided today's a good day to relapse. And that's on FanDuel. There's nothing responsible about this. There's no responsible gambling in sending out, or gaming as they call it, in sending out bonus offers to people who have asked to been off your list. There's nothing responsible about that. And this is why the whole notion of responsible gambling from the industry perspective is bullshit. They bastardized the term. It's meaningless. They use it to say, like, we do responsible gambling, meaning we don't harm people. This is harming people. This is absolutely harming people because it's predatory, because you are going after the people who want to gamble but can't. You are advertising to them with ridiculous bonus offers. And that also, let's not forget that they have a deal with the NFL, and that's why they're able to use Super Bowl. And that's why I don't mind saying Super Bowl. We're just a YouTube show. It's not like anybody's going to come after us for anything. So that's on the NFL as well. Look at that, NFL. Your betting partner is going after people who have a gambling addiction, trying to get them to gamble with bonus offers. And this isn't a mistake. I signed up to be off that list. So I was fine before we started. Now I've gotten myself all pissed off. I'm going to take another sip of water and let Christina talk for a minute.
I know that the guy that leads my Saturday in-person GA group, he's 10 years bet free. And I remember him saying this early on, I'm just one bad day from being back out there. And so, yeah, that's why this is such an important conversation to have, because you're just one bad day of seeing that. I'm supposed to be off the list too. And I got all kinds of mail over the holidays. I got all kinds of flyers. I got one just the other day too, matter of fact. And you pulling that, it just goes straight in the trash for me.
From your local casino?
Yeah. Yep. And I should be off all their mailing lists, but it's the reason why I think I didn't give it too much thought is because it's the one I just took myself off of. And what was that, a month ago? That I
we did an episode and you talked about that.
Right.
You self-excluded. And they mailed you something last week?
Last week. So I didn't know how long it would take to get off of their list. So I was going to give them that one. And then if I get anything else, it should be, they should have.
This person is self-excluded. We can't advertise to them. And if it's not the push of a button.
I don't know. Because I remember when I self-excluded, they say we give you a week to rethink it.
They said that?
Did I not?
I don't recall you saying that when you brought this up.
Yeah.
We give you a week?
They give you a week to rethink it.
What a bunch of bastards.
Yeah. He's like, well, you've got 7 days to come back in.
Got 7 days. The fuck, man.
Yeah. I was just like, are you serious? I remember that. I can't believe I didn't mention that. But yeah, you have 7 days to come back in and change your mind.
You go in there and, listen, you went in almost a year after. So you weren't in the same place you were when you first tried to. When did you first self-exclude? Not from this place, but from any of them?
I first self-excluded. Well, I filled out all the paperwork the week after I stopped or I entered recovery. And then my mom forgot to send it in. It got lost in her car. And so I found out about it in July. And then I redid it and got it all sent in July and was officially taken off. Like I have all these notices from different tribes where it tells me I'm excluded. So that was in July. And
did you get any mail from them?
No, I haven't gotten any mail from them.
So just this one place that you self-excluded from that you've gotten mail from.
Yeah.
So maybe it's a time, but that's still some BS, man. Just the fact they can get you off the mail, especially they should make the special effort for somebody who came in to remove themselves because of gambling harm. They know why people self-exclude. It's
Yeah,
not
and
because you want to gamble.
I never updated my address with them when I moved. And so I wasn't getting any mail until the holidays. And then all of a sudden they started flooding me with mail.
Was it a holiday offer? What kind of offer was it?
I think it was like $50 free play. Come in. Yeah, I hadn't gambled in so long. So, the free play was pretty minimal. And by $50, I want to say it's probably spread out.
Free play is different than this offer. This offer, you had to bet at least $10. You had to pay $10. Free play is free play.
Right.
Correct?
Yes. Yeah. It doesn't cost you. I mean,
it's yours. You go in there, pop your card in, and that's free money. I talked to a homeless man who was living outside of a casino and just going in to get his free play every day. So that way he could eat.
Oh.
And so he would go and use his free play. And if he won, then he would keep some for food and stuff, but he'd get in line with everybody else at like 9:30 in the morning and use his free play every single day. And that was keeping him from bettering himself, from getting the hell out of town. He was living in the casino parking lot. So look what free play does to people.
Isn't that kind of what they're dealing with over there in the UK is those free bets or
the VIP schemes?
Yeah, where they come in. I was talking with somebody who was so addicted to the free bets, they thought that they could make money off of I can't remember what it's called, but it's basically the same thing. You get free play and then you try and make money off the free play. And this person I was talking to is like, well, I can make a couple of grand. And I'm like, but what is it costing you to do that? And he couldn't leave the money in there. It's just like he was so hooked on trying to make money off of their money, but he couldn't see what it was actually costing him. And I think they're trying to do away with that over there. Yeah,
we'll never do that here.
No.
At least not for a very long time. Until someone sees that it's poison. And it is poison. I mean, free play for somebody. To get free play, you have to spend a lot of money. Somebody who's spending a lot of money, most people can't afford to gamble, right?
Right.
This country always talks about the 1%, the 1%. The rest of us, 99% of us are poor. The 1% has money. Well, if 99% of us are poor, then 99% of the people at the casino shouldn't be gambling because they can't afford it, because they don't have the money to go out and spend that on entertainment. And if that's your entertainment, if that's where you choose to spend your entertainment dollars, God bless you, go do it. But look around at the hours spent in the casino and the money spent. If you just add those two things up, most people can't afford what is being spent. I don't know. They make this argument, the industry will make this argument of, well, there's not a one size fits all solution, because Jerry could be able to gamble. Meanwhile, Pam can't. Jerry could have the money to gamble 5,000, whereas Pam doesn't. But how do we tell them apart? And it's because 99% of the people are Pam and can't afford it. Jerry's the 1%. I don't understand the argument. I don't get why there isn't a one size fits all. If you put on affordability checks after $2,000, and that's just the arbitrary number that I'm saying, because I use that number because it would save a lot of people a lot of harm. It's a lot of money to lose, but it would save a lot of people a lot of harm if they couldn't lose more than that. And then they had to pass an affordability check. And I don't see what the big deal is about the affordability check. If somebody wants to go in, just make it a registration process. If somebody wants to gamble more than a certain amount in a night, you got to pass this registration, and that would be the affordability check. Oh, what an inconvenience for them. Really? Well, you'd be saving people's lives. So is that an inconvenience? I don't think it's an inconvenience to save people's lives, seeing as how gambling addiction has the highest rate of suicide among other addictions. So
not mention really the crime that it causes amongst people. I mean, a lot of crime goes hand in hand with gambling addiction.
Yeah, you and I both know more people than we should who have been to jail because of their gambling. Been to jail. Regular people who were gambling for entertainment have now been to jail because of their gambling, because their gambling caused them to want to gamble more, but they had no means. So they had to go out and find other ways to get that money. And those were illegal ways. These aren't violent people who are criminals. These are people who are desperate to make
Beat an
themselves
addiction.
feel good through their addiction.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think too, as a society here, just the other day I was driving down the road to work, and I was listening to our local country station, and they came on, and they're both gamblers. I believe they're new to Tulsa and are experiencing the casino. And they were just talking about how much they loved gambling. And one guy in particular kept talking about the slot machines. And then it was like, why don't you call in and tell us about your jackpots? And so it's like, me as somebody in recovery, it's up to me to manage my triggers, right? It's up to me to change that station. If it's triggering me, it's up to me as the addict to, make that choice. I listened for a little bit just because I was just interested to see what people would call in and say. And this one lady called in and she was like, oh yeah, I've won enough to buy 2 cars. And I remember, the addicted side of me is like, how much did those cars cost her though? Like, yeah, she says she won, but then there's that part of me. It's like, there's a problem there, and then like repeatedly the next lady that called, and she was like, I just won my very first jackpot and it was X amount of dollars. And I ended up listening to 3 different stories before I finally changed it. And I just got to thinking, if I was somebody who hadn't really experienced gambling harm, didn't know anything about gambling addiction, was listening to how these people were glamorizing gambling and understanding that 90% of the population can gamble normally. But there was no talk of like, if this is a problem, there was none of that. It was just like, oh, gambling is glorious. So if I was somebody who hadn't experienced gambling harm, who hadn't heard of gambling harm, I might have been thinking, oh, maybe I need to go get a shot at gambling if these people are winning all this money. And you and I both know, out of the hundreds of stories we've listened to, we've experienced ourselves, that it just takes that first jackpot to just spark a wildfire in somebody. And it can take them from a really good place to prison or worse, death, and
prison, death, or insanity. That's what GA says.
Exactly. So as I was driving, I thought more and more about this, and I thought, what, I'm just going to try and reach out to him. I don't want to be a Karen about it. I don't want to be a Karen about it. I don't want to be that woman that's like, you can't gamble. Don't talk about gambling. Like that kind of conversation isn't going to get us anywhere, is it? It's more about like, hey, I understand that 90% of the population can do this normally. But if you're going to talk about the good parts of what you consider the good parts of gambling, can we at least throw in, hey, if you're struggling with a problem, here's a resource for you, and I can't remember exactly the 6-page essay I sent them, but completely not expecting them to respond, and I remember even typing in there, this is not a rant. Please do not read this to yourself in a Karen voice. Like, this is just to bring awareness. If you can, you know what I mean? Like, cause I could tell by the way these guys are, like, they would totally be like, oh, this woman's like yelling at us.
We got a letter from somebody named Christina.
Yeah.
Christina's got a problem with gambling because she can't gamble normally or responsibly.
So none of us can have any fun. That's exactly how I pictured them reading it. And so that's why I was like, do not read this like that, but could you at least and then I actually put out the responsible gambling phrase, set a time, set a limit. If you go past those, call this number. And they actually reached out right away and they were like, we will do this on the next break. Thank you. And then he actually asked me some questions about the podcast and the Bet Free Life. And so maybe it'll open up an opportunity in the future to have a conversation. That would be amazing to be able to do that on something like that, on a platform like that, especially in Oklahoma where it's just casinos are everywhere.
Did you listen through the break? Did they mention?
I didn't get a chance to. I had to go into a meeting at work, and so I didn't get a chance to listen. But I'm almost positive they did do something, because he said he would do it on the next break, and he didn't know whether I was listening or not. So,
did you ever gamble from a trigger or an
yes.
urge? Did you
Yes, very
ever
much so.
stop what you were doing in the middle at whatever time of the day, and because you got that urge, you dropped everything to go gamble?
Yeah.
Or some form of that. Can you give me a specific example?
Well, the most common example for me, and I've talked a lot about this, is my home life. Sometimes isn't always the best, and I'm going to try and be respectful since this is going on YouTube. But I would get home and maybe the atmosphere was tumultuous, and so I would just turn around and get back in my car, and that it would send me straight to the casino. And I remember just saying, I'm going to go to mom's. And I would, my mom's was on the way, and I would just drive past hers and just go straight to the casino because I didn't want to be at home in that environment. And that was one of the hardest things that I had to cope with coming into recovery. It was learning to not do that, learning to not run when things aren't great. Have I mastered it? No. I mean, I have, in the terms that it doesn't send me to the casino. I actually just don't leave the house. I couldn't even trust myself to leave the house. So I just learned, and I think that's really kind of where my passion for the Broke Girl Society, my passion for recovery just kind of started, because I would just come in my office and I would just be extremely involved in recovery. And so that was one of my biggest triggers. Or the next biggest one would be like if I got a bonus at work and I would be excited.
So extra money
is a huge trigger for me. I would say confrontation. If I was going to have to deal with confrontation, that would be a trigger. And then extra money is a big trigger. So I always wanted to go, like, I was all over the place, where you read on the 20 questions, do you go to celebrate? Do you go to escape? I checked it all off. Like, that's just where I wanted to spend any emotional moment. Happy, sad, scared, like worrisome. I was worried I'd go there because then I wouldn't have to think about it, or I could celebrate, or all those types of things. What about you?
I remember there was a radio commercial that would play all day at work, because we listened to the same couple of stations all day at work. The local Detroit casinos would advertise on those stations all day long. And it was this song. It was like fire. And it had to do with some ad, but it's a real song. And every time I would hear that, I'd have to either tune it out, but occasionally it would get to me to where it would be like, all right, gambling. I don't need to go gamble. It's okay. And then all of a sudden it would be like the second commercial would come on. And I go, maybe I will. And then I would find myself getting excited about the thought. And that by that time I'd taken the turn already. And I'm like, and I start planning my after work. Like, all right, I'm going to go home. I'm going to take a shower. I'm going to put on a new shirt. And then I'm going to, not like a new shirt. I just bought a shirt, just a new shirt from, like the sweaty shirt I'd been wearing all day at work. And then I'm going to drive down to the casino. I'm going to try and beat traffic so I can be there either before the traffic jam starts, because I don't want to sit in the 5 o'clock traffic. So I either have to leave work early or leave work late, one of the two. And so that's what I would do. And then wander into the casino. And I used to walk around the top. I would always gamble on the bottom floor. I was a basement gambler. And I would walk around on the top floor with I think that's where like a lot of the entertainment gambling took place. It just felt like it was fancier up there. And that's where they had the live music. But it was just so crowded up there. And that being the main thing, crowded. I didn't want all these people around me. And so my machines were in the basement that I liked. So I would go down into the basement, spend, because if I tried to get out of, and this happened a lot, if I was just trying to get out of work quickly so I could run home real quick and change and then go, I didn't have time to buy a pack of cigarettes because back then I smoked. So I would buy the cigarettes at the casino. And so when I would budget out my money ahead of time, I would always budget in, I got to buy the $12 cigarettes instead of the $5 cigarettes. But I always made sure to buy them first, because if I tried to wait, I wouldn't have any money. I wouldn't use the money for cigarettes. So I'd go to the machine, and it's like, it's 4 rows, all Marlboro Lights. It's all the same cigarette, but there's like 4 rows in this vending machine of them, way overpriced. And then I've said many times I didn't drink while I gambled, but sometimes, like on days like this, I would get 1 beer when I first got there just to have something wet in my mouth. So I'd get like 1 beer and then go sit down. And it was like that, I think, was the best time, was finding your machine. And if somebody was on it and you go find number 2 and so on, it's like chips. For me, there's an order of chips, like French onion sun chips, Cool Ranch Doritos, everything else. And then same thing, there was this stupid, and again, we've already had our trigger warning, so I apologize if this gets anybody, but this stupid wild taxi game that I put so much money into over my lifetime because I won early while playing that game. And I was convinced that I knew how to win that stupid game. I knew what to look for. I knew what was coming. There was so much opportunity to win playing that stupid game. Luckily, though, some days other people were on it. But it was that stupid game got under my skin. And then the next one was always, for a long time, another stupid. They're all stupid because they took all my money. Coyote Moon, which was only fun for the bonus, because the bonus I didn't want to play a bonus where the amount you could get was kind of finite. I enjoyed those ones where like, holy crap, this could go endless. And a lot of them are like that. That's the appeal of that. And so that was always the number 2 I would look for. And then there were a handful of like 3 to 7 that were interchangeable. But if I saw those, I would play those. What really, I think you could tell that I had a gambling addiction if you knew, like, oh, he likes to play these games over here. He hates playing these games. But for whatever reason, I would go play these games that I hated playing, that I never felt good about in the same way I felt good about the other ones, either because somebody was on my machine or there were too many people over there, or, I just thought I had played all my machines and there was nothing left to do except try this new machine. But I never had a good feeling. I never won. And I would put money in it like a zombie, just put money in it. And it's like, why would I waste my money on a game that didn't even satisfy me? Didn't make me happy. I mean, I suppose
you like wasted all this time because you didn't, like, I remember having so many where I had to set it a different machine because I couldn't get to the ones that I wanted to play. And it was like, that's the reason why I lost, because I had to play that machine. Like, if I'd been able to play my machines, I might have won.
Yeah. When you first get there, if someone's on your machine, you can go play something else just to kill time. And you're thinking like, I'll just press the button once in a while and kill time, so I don't use up all my money here. I don't want to just stand here or not gamble. I don't want to not gamble in a casino. Who does that?
Right.
I do remember somebody was on my machine or something, so I thought, well, I'll go kill time at the bar. So I went and I ordered a cocktail. And then sure enough, it was always, there was always 5-card stud poker at the bar top. It was always like a poker machine, but for the most part, 5-card stud. And I didn't want to play that because it didn't give me the good feelings. And I never won playing poker. But there I was in a 25-cent one. And that, how quickly money just goes in a 25-cent one versus a 5-cent one. I'm sitting there feeding it in, just to kill time. And then I've lost half my money that I wanted to spend on my machine. It's just a freaking addiction, you know? It really is. The fact that I just wanted to kill time. Like, well, I can't get my heroin, but somebody's giving me some cocaine. So I suppose I'll use the cocaine.
Much how it is. And, yeah. I'm not sure what that was. But what's interesting to me though, here you are 7 years later and you're talking about it like it was yesterday. Like you can still
I was feeling
those
it
emotions.
too.
Yeah.
I was feeling that way.
Feeling those emotions.
Yeah. Yeah. Even that anticipation feeling I can relive many times of like, oh yeah, that's how it was. And I mean, I can't relive it in the exact same way. It's not like, well, why did you gamble then if you could just relive it? But I can very much feel that same feeling going through my veins. Do
you ever have to like calm it down? Like, do you ever have to try and remember the dark stuff to like counteract that?
No, I mean, I'm living the dark stuff. Let me show you an envelope I have. And
if I find myself thinking about the good times, I have to remind myself by looking at like a credit card bill, remind myself of the bad times, you know, because it's like I always say, when things are good, it's hard to remember the bad. And when things are bad, it's hard to remember the good.
I'm going to show you my envelope.
New start, October 2016.
Just in case you can't read my chicken scratch, Brian's fresh new start, October 2016. So I stopped gambling 2014, started to file for bankruptcy. Unfortunately, I moved, so I had to extend that out, and I didn't actually file till October 2016. So I'm going to open that up and talk about it on this and the podcast in 2023 when I'm finally out of bankruptcy. I will be it's 7 years that it's on my credit report. And so October 2023 is less than 2 years away now. So that'll be a good feeling. And then also, I say still living, I still have $35,000 of student loan debt that is gambling debt.
Oh, because you use that money to gamble.
Yeah, I mean, there might be a small portion of that was books and tuition for something, but for the most part, that's gambling debt money. So I have a constant reminder of that too, that I have to pay off. So I'm not without the thoughts of the negative side of it for sure. Cause I keep all these close, keep the envelope down under the desk. And I always see the debt that I have from the student loan. So.
Oh, I think that for me right now, that's probably what's keeping me mostly, I mean, besides everything I do, but you know, when I sit down and pay those bills and I get really, really overwhelmed by the debt I created while gambling. It's just a really good way to keep me on track for sure.
Yeah. And then we talk to enough other people with horror stories.
Absolutely.
So no, I get lost in fantasy sometimes. Sure. You know, in the same way that when what's it called? The Mega Millions or whatever, when it's $500 million or something and everyone's talking about it, I still think like, what would I do with that much money? But it's so unrealistic that it doesn't, like, I think, ooh, $2,000. That's what I think. That would more likely to get me going than $500 million. $500 million is riding a unicorn into space. That's just something that's never going to happen. Whereas 2,000 is reachable. And so that scares me more than $500 million.
Yeah, I had a conversation with somebody earlier about this, whose spouse buys lottery tickets. And my husband buys lottery tickets. I don't have anything to do with them. Like, I I guess it's not that for me, lottery tickets is an issue. I just am choosing not to gamble in any capacity for myself, but I can't really ask him not to. I mean, he spends, I don't know, the minimum a week on him. That's just something he's always done. And so I don't know if anybody else really struggles with having a partner that buys lottery tickets or scratch.
I'm sure a lot of people do. Well, I don't know about struggles. My wife came home the other day and said, I just want you to know that I signed up for a raffle, but if I win, I'm donating it. And I was like, dude, you can gamble. You don't have a gambling addiction. I don't care if you gamble. It doesn't bother me at all. It doesn't do anything for me. And if you win, I'm not going to turn down the house that you buy with the $500 million.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be like, I choose to sleep in the street. This was bought with ill-gotten gains. No, I'm going to go on with my life and knowing that my partner won it. I didn't. That's how I think about it. I'm like, I don't care if you can. I don't care if you go to the casino. It doesn't. I'm not anti-gambling in any way.
I mean, I know that he doesn't gamble, period, except for the lottery tickets a week. I mean, he never went with me. I think the handful of times he did, he stood over my shoulder and he's like, cash out, cash out, cash out, cash out.
Mm.
You know, he was that type. And it wasn't his thing. But I don't know if it would be like easy if your partner was still gambling.
Yeah, I mean, if they were gambling, putting it in your face all the time, that would be hard. But like lottery is easy to keep away from you, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like you don't know it, unless he pulls them out and he's like, Christina, look at these lotto numbers. But I doubt he's doing that.
No, I rarely see him. I just see him when they're in the trash. Or I'm like, oh, I guess we didn't win, but.
Yeah, my dad used to buy a couple a week. That was his thing that he did. I
guess it's just up to all of us to determine what we're comfortable with and what we're not, what we consider gambling and what we don't. Because, you know, some are very like, even like with the raffles or, you know, like the company raffle or something that comes around once a year. It's like, do you participate or do you not?
I think of it like I mean, a lot of places do it for charity. And then at that point, you can donate to charity. And I wouldn't buy the tickets like myself. I wouldn't buy the raffle tickets and be like, I'm all excited now. I'd just be like, here's the money and do whatever with the raffle tickets. Like my wife said, she was just going to donate it or something. If you're supporting a cause and they use gambling, I'm sure you could get their ear by saying, listen, I have a gambling addiction. So using gambling to raise money, I don't think is a great idea. However, I support your cause and here's some money. Don't give me any tickets.
Yeah. It's always a good way to educate, advocate, bring awareness.
Yeah. Like whenever you get the chance. I should say this. I was having, I have a herniated disc in my back and I was getting an injection. And so I was laying face down on the table. And there's like 6 people in the room performing this. And the doctor was asking me questions to make sure that I wasn't in pain and that I wasn't passing out or anything. And he said, what do you do? And I said, I'm a gambling addiction advocate. And he was like, oh, what do you think about the new gambling here in Connecticut and all this? And I started to get into it, but I was just like, he's sticking a needle in my back right now. I really don't want to have this conversation. But it was interesting because he kept asking me questions about it. And I was like, wow, what an opportunity to educate these 6 people in the room.
Absolutely. I think taking any opportunity that we can, and at least that's how I feel these days.
Yeah. Well, do you have anything else this week or you want to say good night?
I think we've covered the gambit.
Yeah.
Is that a gambling term? Gambit.
I know it's the name of an X-Man.
Yeah, true that.
I don't know. So I did that the other day. I did that in the episode I'm editing right now. I said a gambling term. They're so common to say in normal.
I bet you all the time.
Yeah.
I bet you. I mean, I don't know where that comes from. It's just so natural to say it. And Before, I never even thought twice about it. And you know what I used to say all the time growing up? I have to say this. I used to say, I bet you nothing. And it's so funny when I look back at it now, like, I bet you nothing so-and-so will do this, or I bet you nothing so-and-so will do that. And then it's like, then I grew up to be somebody that bet everything. Kind of.
It's a good place to leave it right there.
For a minute.
A little food for thought.
Yeah.
Well, for Christina, I'm Brian. This is the Bet Free Life. Thank you for watching. Talking helps. It really does. So please do it. Bye.
Bye.